Welcome, fellow workers, to Voices at Work, Labor Radio here on Kpft Houston. Also broadcasting live to the good people in Galveston and the Huntsville areas. Plus, you can pick us up on the internet at kpft.org. Hello and good evening. My name is Tim Pagel, and I'm guest hosting tonight so that the Voices at Work crew can enjoy a well-deserved holiday break to be with their family and friends. I want to give a big thank you to the crew for all their time, sacrifice, and effort they expend to bring us all the news and stories involving working people. I also want to say a word of thanks to our listener supporters of KPFT, because this program and this station would not exist without your continued financial support. Thank you all very much. Assisting me tonight is fellow troublemaker and agitator, a friend, and an all-around good human being, Brother Gordon Anderson. How you doing tonight, brother?
Well, I'm trying to figure out if you're talking about me or somebody else, but yeah, I'm doing fine. I appreciate that.
Brother, there's only two of us in here, and we're looking at each other.
Okay. Yeah.
I appreciate you taking your time out from your schedule to come down here and help us put this together tonight. Right. I want to remind the folks that we will deviate a little bit from the regular schedule that the Voices at Work crew brings, but this first segment is about union reformers and activists. In particular, members of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, and those that organized in 1976 to form what is now known as TDU, or Teamsters for a Democratic Union. For 37 years, many dedicated and courageous men and women have stood up to challenge the status quo within this organization, where by all accounts in 1976 it was one of the nation's largest unions, but also heavily influenced by the mob. One of the leading dissidents, Pete Camarata, a courageous Teamster from Detroit and also a member of sister organization Teamsters for a Decent Contract, went as a delegate to the 1976 convention and spoke forcefully about the corrupt administration of then-President Frank Fitzsimmons. While General President Fitzsimmons railed inside the convention hall that the reformers could go to hell, outside the Las Vegas hall, Brother Camarata was rewarded for his efforts by a vicious beating. Many good things came from these early struggles, and TDU is credited with intervening just in time to keep the government from taking over the Union in the late 80s, making it possible for the first time ever that rank-and-file members could vote. It took 14 years, but Brother Camarata would see justice when in 1990 the Teamster rank-and-file made history by making Ron Carey the first democratically elected president of this union, which in turn set a renewed spark under the labor movement as well. It's widely believed that the mob influence is over, but the struggle continues to bring this union back to what it was and is capable of being, a force to be reckoned with. At its core, TDU believes the only resurgence of the labor movement will come from the bottom up rather than the top down. I'm happy to introduce to you tonight Brother Nick Perry from Teamster Local 251 in Providence, Rhode Island, that shares that question. Brother Nick, are you there?
I'm here, Tim. How are you?
I'm well. I'm a little bit under the weather with some kind of a cold, but I'm okay. Let's get right into it. I kind of lay out, I guess, first your bio and maybe a little bit about you, and tell me how you got into this struggle, what's going on there in Providence.
Sure, no problem. I work at a facility that has 2,200 Teamsters. In it. It's a Rhode Island hospital, and I started out working in the distribution center for the hospital, which basically was a warehouse. It held all the non-pharmaceutical stuff for all the hospital floors, and it was my first, union job. I was trying to get into the politics and trying to understand everything that was going on, and I had a boss. He was just a horrible, horrible boss. He was constantly breaking the contract. We were constantly filing grievances against him. And eventually he was fired by management because so many grievances came in. Well, to combat the grievances, management decided to hire our business agent's brother as our supervisor. And right then I knew there was something really, really wrong going on.
A.K.A. cronyism, nepotism?
Yeah, a little bit of that, absolutely. So we knew that our union was in bed with management at that point. And, I actually went home and I was so angry that I Googled Teamsters 251 is corrupt, and what popped up was a dissident group of a bunch of fellow Teamsters in my local from UPS they had a website. I clicked on it, hit the contact me button, and the rest is history. We met at a Dunkin' Donuts, and we started off on this amazing journey.
And kind of lay out the timeline when all this occurred.
What's that?
The timeline, is this most recent, like in the last year?
Oh, no. Well, this started 3 years ago.
Okay.
I reached out to him about 3 years ago, and we met, like I said, we met in a Dunkin' Donuts, and, I talked to him about it, and I was like, what can I do to get rid of this guy, He shouldn't be our supervisor. And they said, well, the only thing you can really do is vote him out.
Yeah.
And I said, well, who's going to run?
Yeah.
We are. So
that's when a decision was made to form a slate to challenge these incumbents.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
That was the main goal. So
Okay.
we spent the last 3 years organizing and getting educated ourselves, and we wanted to make sure we could do the jobs when we got in.
Yeah,
So
I got you. Okay, to give a little context to what you was up against, I got a little clip here. It's not your opponent speaking, but it was one of his supporters. So it's just a brief little clip, but I think it will help.
Sure.
You've got proven leadership. Their only intention, nationwide and locally now, is to tear down the Teamsters Union, and we cannot allow that to happen. You've got proven leadership. If you allow TDU to infiltrate this local union, you're going to see many things happen. You're going to see the local financially get ruined. You're going to see representation go down the tubes. And you're going to see the demise of Local 251. You've got proven leadership. TDU's famous for saying how we're all brothers and sisters. We're all taking care of each other. And when this is over, we'll all be friends. I got news for you. Anybody takes on my friend Joe Barros and his team, or Local 251, they got a major problem. They'll never be our friends. They need to be punished. Right. Yeah. They need to be punished. They need to be held accountable for their actions, trying to divide and tear down this local. You've got proven leadership. There's no doubt in my mind you're going to kick TDU's ass. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just kind of chuckling in here because we haven't got to the actual race yet, and it was kind of the other way around about who kicked who. But okay, so that's kind of what you was up against, and
yeah. That was an international vice president of the Teamsters. He's the head of Local 25 in Boston, which is the biggest local in our joint council. Mm-hmm. In our region. So he's a pretty powerful and influential guy.
Right.
And for him to be saying that is, that's, like you said, it's what we're up against.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So.
And so y'all started organizing about 3 years ago. You put a slate together. Yep. And you said that most of the slate candidates were from UPS. Did you have some other industries that were represented on the slate?
Yeah, well, actually, it was three guys from UPS, and the rest of us were Rhode Island hospital guys. Mm-hmm. Because we have 5,300 people in our local, and like I said, 2,200 of them worked at the hospital.
How many in the local?
5,300.
Wow.
So about half of them worked in one company, which was that hospital. And it's been the sleeping giant in this local. It never really got involved. It was apathetic. They've been beaten down, They just thought that's the way it is. That's the way it's always going to be. Mm-hmm. And, it's really tough starting out, like trying to talk to people. They're like, yeah, but what are you going to do about it?
Right.
It's always how the conversation ended.
Right.
And when I would mention run against them, they would think I was crazy. Uh-huh. So it was definitely tough cutting through the apathy.
Uh-huh. 5,300 members, that's a pretty sizable local.
Yeah, about second biggest in New England.
Yeah. And what was your strategy going into this? I mean, was the on the opponent side, were they kind of outnumbered and y'all just reached out to those people that were ready for change? I mean, what was your strategy?
Yeah, well, actually, at first our strategy was just to inform the members of what was going on in the local. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of backroom deals going on. There was a lot of, just cronyism in general. People that qualified for jobs weren't getting them, so the business agent could get his friend in there. There was a lot of that going on. Once we started exposing that and people started knowing who we were, they'd come up to me, hey, how come I didn't get that job? Mm-hmm. Well, we'd do a little research in the guy that got the job and find out that he was a friend of the business agent. And then, you tell one person, tells another person, it spreads like wildfire. And, we became pretty popular. Like people came to us for answers.
Yeah.
As to why things were happening. We kind of, from the grassroots, we just told people what was going on.
Yeah.
And we became popular with some and very unpopular with others.
Right,
sure.
right. I imagine so.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think that you're a relatively young person as well as most of your slate, which I find is really a breath of fresh air to see such young activists taking a vital role in not only in this union but in all unions as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's where it starts. A lot of these guys, a lot of the older guys, they've been beaten down by the intimidation. I mean, it was pretty prevalent here in Rhode Island. There was a mob element and everything else going on in the local back then. They remember all that. They remember what happened when you stood up back in the day, and they were pretty shy to do it. But these younger guys, they know what's right, and they were ready to stand up for it, and we just showed them the way.
Yeah. I guess you might have heard my opening remarks about the origination of TDU and what happened to Brother Pete Camarada.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the type of thing that people, the older guys remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've been reached out to by a lot of guys that silently supported us.
Yeah.
Saying that, we're really proud of what you did, and you did a great thing, and God, I wish you were around in the 70s.
Yeah. Well, full disclosure here, I am a Teamster. I've been a Teamster for over 40 years, and I'm also a member of TDU. And I'm not as active as I used to be, in like a lot of people. I'm looking for my days when I can hang up my gloves and retire. But I do see a sea change of kind of a cultural issue. Like I said, the younger generation are coming up, and they're smart. And they can cut through the BS, and they know when they've been lied to. And facts are facts.
Absolutely, yeah. And they're really eager to be educated as well. We saw at the TDU convention, there were so many young people, and I was helping chair a couple classes, and it was just the questions I were getting were unbelievable. It was really an intelligent group of really knowledge-thirsty people.
Right.
They wanted to know their rights. They wanted to know, exactly what was going on. And I love spreading that knowledge, man. That's for sure.
And when you made that phone call a number of years ago, was that your first also exposure to TDU? When did that come around?
Oh yeah, no, that was I didn't even know TDU existed at that point. I was probably a year into my first union job when I realized that, there was something. I was about 3 months in when I realized there was something really wrong with my local, but. About a year in before I realized that that TDU even existed, and these guys kind of turned me on to it and said, check out the website, and I checked it out, and I was like, yes, exactly, this is what it is. This is what it should be.
Yeah, I've got a similar story. Some years back, I'd known about TDU for many, many years, but I was never a member and never joined. But once I became active in the early 2000s, I was at a union meeting, and I was being confrontational with our local president, who happened to be a former member as well. But anyway, he challenged me. It was some issue about a blue ribbon commission that they was going to set up, and he was like, "Well, call TDU and ask them. They'll tell you I'm not lying." And I did.
Yeah.
And, the thing was, the more I talked to them, the more I realized, like you said, they're smart people. They really have the membership, the rank and file, at its core. And, it didn't take long after that I became a member.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. It was the same thing for me. It didn't take me long at all. We had a Teamster organizer come down, a man named David Levine, who was absolutely the backbone of our entire movement. Like, I said in a speech I gave that if I was the campaign manager for the United Action Slate, he was the campaign director. Because that man knew exactly what to do, highly intelligent, been through it before, he knew every right move to make, and it was amazing, the support we got from TDU. Without TDU, there's no way we could have got that done.
Right. It's
no way.
For 37 years, it's the only organization out there of its kind.
Yeah, absolutely, and they are amazing.
Okay, we're starting to get kind of in the 5-minute area of this interview, and so I think the slate will take office at the first of the year.
That's correct. We're
Okay.
taking office January 1.
And they realize that the actual campaign really starts on January 1, huh?
Oh, yeah. That's when the real work begins.
Yeah. So
That's when
what
we go
are
from the
some of the
dissidents
things
to the
that
leaders.
the members of Local 251 can look forward to immediately?
Immediately, what we're going to do is we're going to have shop steward elections, because right now what they do is they appoint their stewards, and it's never the right guy. It's always their friend, and, it's kind of like a knowledge suppression type of thing that they have going on where, they're holding all the cards, and you got to come to them and grovel.
Yeah.
What we're going to do is have the members elect democratically elect their shop stewards. So, they're in the shop every day. They know who they trust. They know who they can talk to.
Right.
So let the members decide who's going to represent them. That's going to be first. We're also we're initiating a women's committee in our local, because our local is comprised of about 40% women. So, and they really don't have much of a voice. There's no women's caucus. There's no women's committee or anything. So we're going to head that up immediately. Our recording secretary, Sandy Cabral, is actually going to be in charge of that, and that's exciting. We want to get a lot of women involved in the local, because if you go to a local meeting now, there's not too many, and they're Teamsters just like us. We want them there. We want to hear their opinions. We want to hear what they have to say. We got a lot going on. We're going to start a local 251 university so we can educate our stewards, because we want our stewards to know the contract and know the labor law better than the managers do. So that way they can point out anything that's going on.
Right.
And they know the difference. So,
right.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is member involvement and member education.
Yeah, educate, agitate, and organize.
That's the truth. There you go.
Yeah. In these final minutes, I mean, some advice to the fellow trade unionists out there that are outside of the Teamster organization, in other unions, words of wisdom.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot. It really does. You got to put your neck out there. Definitely educate yourself before you even begin something like this, because you're going to find yourself in some murky situations where if you make the wrong move, it could cost you your job, and they're going to be gunning for you. You're putting a big target on your back.
Right.
So you have to be headstrong. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to know, the rules, the policies of wherever you're working, and you have to play the rule. That's the biggest thing, is play the rule.
Right.
Don't break the rule. Play the rule. Work it.
Yeah, and as that video clip showed, their allegations were, proven leadership, and now you guys are going to have to prove yourself.
Oh, absolutely. That's our goal, And we're going to do it exactly the way we've campaigned. We put out a positive campaign about change and reform and what our vision for what Local 251 should be, and the members responded and they wanted it, and we have to deliver.
Yeah. And real quickly, UPS just wrapped up their national contract campaign, so y'all won't be involved in that early on, will you? That's over with.
Yeah, that's over with. The New England supplement passed, so we're just waiting on the rest of the country, really. Now, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions, and so we got 3 guys from UPS. Yeah. On the slate, they can, they're definitely on board with that.
Yeah.
And
any other big contracts on the horizon?
Yeah, actually, we have one that's been in negotiations for a while now. It's the city of Fall River, which is in Massachusetts. It's a municipality, and they haven't been able to strike a deal. They've been working on the contract since July 1st. So we're going to walk right into that. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gearing up for it.
Well, all right, brother. Listen, I appreciate you taking the time to, share this with us, and I certainly hope the best for you guys and girls out there in Rhode Island, and keep up the good fight. And if you stay true to the members, and you'll do fine.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being on the show.
Okay, brother.
Appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, happy holidays.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.